Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another amazing and mindful episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. This is one of the most awaited podcasts for me in my own personal journey. When I met today's host at one of the networking events on wellness and health, little did I know that I'm on my path to discover a really amazing journey. The Rishikesh, the Kailas, and the Silicon Valley. What does it look like when these three worlds come together and are able to secure funding in a startup and impact the youth of next generation? Do I sound a little cryptic? Just wait a few moments until we talk to our guest today, who is none other than Preeti Shrikhande. She is the founder of Vivensity. She is not only the founder of Vivensity, but she has been a very reputed integral life coach as well. She is a person who has worn many hats, even in the corporate world, but this is her zen, this is her ikigai, this is what she's born to do. So without further ado, let's bring on this very intriguing, very enigmatic, yet down to earth and a very charming person, Preeti Shrikhande. Welcome to Pitch Cafe podcast, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Vida. That introduction is just out of the world. Thank you so much.
just like you, I
can't believe it's not me. I was like, who is she talking about?
Okay, there you go. I told you she's down to earth. So let's just find out who she is. So who is Preeti Shrikhande? Who is this person? Is she a yogi? Is she a wellness visionary? Is she an entrepreneur? Who is Preeti Shrikhande?
You're asking me the most profound question that saints spend years trying to figure out.
Yes.
Who am I?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I am. So, jokes apart, I think it's a very profound question. And most of us, spend lifetimes trying to figure out who am I, but trying to bring it to more of a practical aspect, which is my job on this earth, is to make things more practical and doable. So basically, I'm all of those and more, right? We all are, right? I'm a parent, I'm a sister, whatever roles that we play. And at different times in life, we just have to play these different roles. So my philosophy is that whatever role I'm playing at any one time, to do it 100%. And that's what makes it effective. That when I'm being sister, I'm being sister. When I'm being entrepreneur, I need to put in all that I've got. I need to put in my 100%. When I'm meditating, I need to put in my 100%. And that's all, 100% in everything, whenever you can, right?
Fantastic.
I help understand. It's hard to answer, but I think, I think it's a reality that we are many, many roles. We're a complex, all human beings are very complex and interesting people, all of them, right?
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your journey in Silicon Valley and, your whole life changed after you decided to move out of corporate into something which you love to do. And that's how your startup Vivensity happened. But before you did your startup, you took this very pivotal decision of going to Rishikesh and Kailas, in the Himalayas. And you told me that life changed after that. Some kind of higher force, was operating through you. I thought that was really where your star power came from. It's really that amazing force which made you who you are. And I feel it all the time when I meet you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came from Rishikesh to Kailas to all the way to Silicon Valley? How did that happen after your corporate world, after your stint in the corporate world?
So, my journey in the US started off pretty much like many of us. I came here to study. I did a master's in statistics. Then I did another master's in computer science, then got hired from campus interviews and, was suddenly in Silicon Valley and started doing the usual things, start climbing that corporate ladder one step at a time. And I learned a lot. I was enjoying myself. And at the same process, I was raising two boys who are now full adults. One is even getting married soon. And so, just life was going on. And during that time, I did feel a need because, both my husband and I were in high-tech jobs, and raising kids in Silicon Valley is not the easiest of things, but everyone has their challenges. And so I felt like I needed somewhere to find myself, my peace, my calm. So I started learning to meditate. And so there are several different places. I did a lot of research, tried to find different methods, and then found one that really worked for me and stayed with it. And that's what sort of got me through the ups and downs and the challenges of juggling life in the Silicon Valley. And somehow I'd found some balance and work-life balance and this and that, and was going on along. But then there was this big shock for our whole community. At one point, there were 5 suicides in our local high school. And my oldest son was in 11th grade at that time. And it just stopped us on our tracks. We were living in our bubbles, thinking life is good. We had our, whatever was going on. It was like, why are children thinking that this is an option? I felt we as a society had failed. If children in my society have this as an option, it was very painful for me to understand, how can I just continue with life? I felt like I had to apply all the things that I had learned, what was it worth? All my master's degrees, all my education and all my life experiences, if I can't help the next generation live a better life or know how to live a better life. Yeah. And so that became, sort of started gnawing at me. And once my kids were off to college, I said, okay, now I want to do something that I really care about. I cared about technology, but this was like really, I wanted to give some time to this. And I had no idea what it would mean. Yeah. But because after all this work, my batteries were pretty drained. So I decided I need to recharge my batteries. And the way to recharge my batteries was I went for a 2-week meditation retreat to Kailash Parvat and Lake Mansarovar. And that was, very, very helpful. And then after that, I did 1 month of yoga teachers training. So I was in Rishikesh, 6 hours of yoga, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, and then 2 hours of yoga theory in between, because you have to get your 200 hours, right? You have to complete it. And so that was a very intense program, but it was the best thing I could do for myself. Because
so Preeti, I stop you here. I'm very intrigued about your experience in Kailash and Manasarovar. It's just, I think Kailash finds you. You don't find Kailash.
Yeah.
This is a calling. Yeah, it finds you.
It's very surprising because there were like 135 people on the team, but somehow or the other, some people just couldn't make it for various reasons, whether it was health, some people wouldn't get their passport, something didn't happen, so many little things on the way that it was really almost miraculous for those people who were eventually able to reach there. Yeah. And once we reached there, we did spend time because I went with him on a meditation retreat. So we spent a good amount of time meditating. And as you sit there, there is some magic there, definitely, insights came to everybody. Everyone came back a different person.
I see. They say there is some sort of force, like a magnetic field or force. They say there is some magnetic field generator inside. Anyway.
These are beyond our capacity to understand, I feel like, so I think we don't know. My best answer is I don't know, but at least, I just know my personal experience. I can speak about my own personal experience, but beyond that, it's very hard to say what mysterious things are going on out there.
So there you are completely transformed after your visit from Kailash to Manasarovar, and then you did your training in Rishikesh. What was that like? The yoga training in Hrishikesh?
Because I really wanted to, get my mind and body both in good shape. And, the meditation definitely helped the mind and my body. I just wanted to make it stronger because, I was getting older and whatever, and I wanted to have a sound body and mind. And I thought rather than just attending a yoga class, which I could do, it felt like if I learned how to teach, I would be able to help myself and help other people too. So that became the incentive to why don't I just sign up for a yoga teacher's training?
Yeah.
And I signed up for a yoga teacher's training.
And you're a practitioner, you practice it daily.
Right. And I got certified. So for certification, you have to do the theory, you have to give the exams, and you have to do the whole thing within that span of time. And I found it wonderful. In fact, my dad was very instrumental in finding this wonderful place in Rishikesh, where the teacher himself has a PhD in yoga.
Wow.
So it was very intense, and he has PhD in yoga and Ayurveda. And he was very teaching with the authentic yoga, which basically means the union of the mind and the body. It's not like the power yoga, hot yoga. All these variations have been created more for the Western world.
Yes.
But the true yoga, basically yoga just means finding the perfect pose or asana to meditate in. That's the purpose. Finding that stillness within you where your mind and body is fully connected. And so that's what we focused on, in this training.
And isn't it amazing how this whole experience of what is yoga, you're using it in your startup Vivensity? It's just this whole knowledge, you're bringing it in such bite-sized, accessible way. So before we come to your journey in your startup, I also want to ask you about your experience in integral coaching, the Aurobindo style of coaching, which made you a very successful corporate coach here in Silicon Valley. So if you tell us a little bit about that, then we can come to your startup journey after that.
Sounds good. So when I came back from all this trip, the thing was, now what, right? How do I take my next step? I wanted to help these students. So at first I thought I'll just become a therapist. That sounded like the simplest thing, that if I become a therapist, I can start helping the students right away. But when I did my research, it would take me 5 years before I could actually help a child, because you have to go through all the rigorous, certification, education, and practicum and whatever. And I was like, I can't wait 5 years. I want to do something sooner than that. And so I decided, one of my very good mentors suggested to do life coaching. And she herself had done this 10 years earlier. This is called an integral life coaching, which basically means that you coach the integral person. You consider all aspects of that person. So if somebody comes and says, I need to find my next job, we're not going to say, okay, what have you done so far and how can I get to there? We'll try to help them understand what is their thinking behind it? What is their feeling behind it? What is their society around it? The whole integral person, their body, their mind, everything connects. So all of these play a factor in how we make our decisions. So we not only help them understand that issue, but make them self-generative so they can make other decisions in the future. And then there's a fine balance between practical application and also long-term effects. So that's what the whole integral coaching is about.
Wow. I had never thought about this, so deeply. People come to us with problems and we look at the problem and the outcome. But this runs very skin deep. It must be very impactful. So
very deep.
Why did you pick the Aurobindo style? What is different about it compared to other styles?
Because this really goes deep. It's almost like when we talk to the person, we don't exist. Often I'll meditate before the session, because at that time, my thoughts, my feeling, my life should not interfere with the interaction that's happening between me and my client. And so at that time, I'm fully available and aware. And I'm almost experiencing their thought process, their body. I'm almost in their shoes completely, because nothing is interfering with my own personal issues that are going on, right? If I try to take away, because most of the time when we're talking to someone, we have an ongoing process of our own thing. Oh, I have to do this, I have to, so if all that noise in my background, I will not be fully present.
I like that.
When I can be fully present, then I can see what the world that they're living in, but I don't have their blind spots, right? All of us have certain blind spots. And then I can point them to something that maybe they have not seen before.
Yeah, this is a very powerful listening technique. This is what I would teach somebody who wants to master communication. This is how you listen, isn't it? You completely null your personality and you get into the shoes of the other person.
Right. You're fully present for them, because that's what you owe them, right? You're here to heal them, to help them. And you're here to listen to them, because listening deeply has a transformational effect. And many times, and the way it is that as they answer their own questions, they raise their own things, they start resolving their own issues. We don't have to tell them what to do. We just guide them through their own process of understanding and discovering for themselves.
I'll spend time with you. I do remember the time I spent with you in the backyard in your house. You have a small meditation center kind of place.
Like a cottage,
Like a cottage, but I was so surprised it was your office. I'm like, who does that? Some place which has so much zen, so much calm and meditative power. You made it your office. And then I thought only good things can come out of it. And after that, 2 years later, I was not at all surprised. You told me you got funded. I was like, why not? Somebody who works from a place like that is definitely going to make good progress and do the right things. So with that, let's move on to the most important question of this podcast. What is how did Vivensity happen? I know that the high school suicide incident, it kindled your passion. It gave a new direction to your life. You quit what you were doing and you moved into this coaching and healing business. But how did Vivensity happen? You're targeting youth very specifically, and tell us a little bit about the whole journey of Vivensity.
Sure, absolutely. So once I finished my life coaching, as part of that, I wanted to get certified, right? And to get certified, you have to coach at least 3 people for 6 months.
Right.
And because I wasn't sure, and we were told that many people drop off. And so just to practice my skills, I started offering free coaching to all my friends, their friends, and my children and their friends. So I would say anyone who wants life coaching, I will do a couple of hour sessions for free. And so then I ended up coaching about 30 different people.
Wow.
And of which, of course, I had more than enough who I wanted to stay. But then I would do these 2-hour sessions, which really helped those people. I have came up with this set of questions that we could do a very nice intake in which they self-discovered the issues that they were dealing with, and they self-resolved within that 2-hour period. So that became that common thing. And so I talked to a lot of students. My friends would send their children saying, oh, go talk to Preeti because she's, doing this coaching thing. And through that, I was able to talk to a lot of teenagers, college students, and learn what they're really going through. And it is so different. We all appear to be very successful, doing well. Everyone looks really nice. But when you talk to them deep inside, how they're hurting, what are the challenges that they're facing? And then I started going to schools, my neighborhood schools, starting to do focus groups there. And I went to conferences where I would meet students, and they were so excited that an adult really cared about this problem, because these teenagers feel kind of left out. At that teenage years, you're not connecting that well with adults at your home or at school. And so you tend to get ignored. So then I realized this is the group that really needs the help. And nobody was paying attention to that particular segment. There were products for younger kids, and there were products for once you got into college or once you started working, but nothing for that group. And so I said, I have to dedicate and find a solution for this specific segment, like the tweens and the teenagers, adolescents at that age.
Right.
So then I recruited several of them because they were so excited that, oh, someone really cares about this. And they became interns. And slowly it evolved. I really didn't know what I was going to build. I didn't know it would be a technology solution, what it would be, but it evolved into, they were all on their devices. And people are like, no, but social emotional learning is getting them away from their devices. But I said, no, we need to meet them where they are. That if they have one other option, instead of taking something that drains their energy, if we give them an option right there that uplifts their energy, wouldn't that be nice? And I had to convince the schools about it.
I always, think people who are building apps for meditation and for wellness, it is again going on the phone, it is increasing screen time. But I like the way you are pitching it. Meet them where they are and get them out of the vicious cycle, right where they are.
Right. And then we have activities that actually make them walk away from their phones.
Which is nice.
Sort of trick them, but in a sense, invite them through this technology to get away from technology.
Fantastic.
So we've been pretty successful with that. Yeah.
So Preeti, if I were to ask you a little bit, deeper in questions on your product line, on what kind of services you're offering, can we talk a little bit about the services and products offered by Vivensity?
Absolutely. So when I did my research and talked to all these people, the thing that became clear was these students were so absorbed with the outside world that they weren't getting enough time to go inward.
Right.
They fully understand. I can tell my little kid to program my phone, which I can't do sometimes myself, but they, so how do we teach them to go inward? How do we get them to go inward? And that happens by introspection, by reflection, by self-reflection. And so then I said, okay, how do I do that? Right. And I did a lot of research. I spoke to psychologists, psychiatrists. I read so many books, and it was just this best time of my life, the learning. But it was kind of scary too, because all the kind of challenges and illnesses. And, students would, because I had this life coaching experience, I could talk quite nicely to students, and people who had attempted suicide would come and talk to me about it. They would tell me all the processes that they went through. And other students with just regular struggles, either with their education or with their parents or with themselves, their own decision-making, not knowing what to do. handling the stress that they have. And I realized the stress they feel is the same, no matter whether they're it's regardless of their socioeconomic status.
Right.
Talk to students in Hayward and, immigrants, children. Some people, they were concerned that they had a parent in prison and their intensity of fear and pain was so strong.
Yeah.
They spoke to other people, in more affluent areas, and their concerns can come out great, but the pain they feel is the same, or they felt about different things like eating disorders, all different. So there were different issues. The content was kind of different around them, but this essence, how they felt. So how do we help them go to the root cause, understand where the stress is coming from, and then from the root level, learn how to handle it better.
Fantastic. So Preeti, I could talk to you all day about this with no second thoughts. You are an expert in this domain, and that's why you have a startup. So, I want to keep going on, but what's one strong message you want to leave the audience with before we end the podcast? What is the one thing which you want to talk to? More so women's leaders. We have coming out of the Women's History Month. I met you at the International Women's Day celebration recently. It was really amazing, the kind of impact you're having, and you may have faced challenges as a woman leader, raising funds, holding your own. What is this one strong message you have for the women leaders in the audience?
I think it's really important. I mean, of course, I've learned lots of lessons. There have been lots of ups and downs. One thing that kept me going was that definitely that, keep your eye on the impact you're trying to make.
Yeah.
That way, little problems stay little. Resolve conflicts as soon as they come up so that you don't let them get in the way. And use this as a vehicle to bring out the best in yourself and the best in people around you. Yeah. So that was, if you have that in mind, then you'll always try to find a win-win solution. The other thing is also, I feel like we women leaders, we do have a little advantage. We should lead with our heart. It's okay because we already have a good head on our shoulders. We know all the techniques, our head is perfectly fine. So leading with the head is not necessary. If we add that touch of leading with our heart, with compassion, with our team, so our team can come together and be inspired to do what they're doing. Fantastic. And that will bring out the best in all of us.
Wow. I will certainly, that this is like the most important takeaway, even more important than everything you said until now. Lead with the heart and the head, it's well positioned for us because we give birth to life. There's so much we do. It's kind of positioned on its own, but the heart, leading with the heart is what we...
No, we're all intelligent. I mean, if we're in this place, right, we have to have that confidence. We know. So head is there always, right? And we have a good set. Leading with the heart, very few people do that. And to be successful, we have to allow that to happen. Yeah.
Great message. I hope this message resonates in every person who listens to this. I hope they bring this message to life. With that, very reluctantly, I want to conclude this super amazing and super mindful podcast. And we'd love to have you back. Thank you, Preeti. Thank you for gracing the show.
Thanks for the opportunity, Vida. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Awesome.